Life Reflection, Chapter 23, I Will Remember. The very first statement in my creed that I created once I threw everything else away, the whole self-improvement journey that I had, reading books, adding those things to my values, like list of values, all that stuff. The first one that I added to the true list of values, the one that I started anew, is I will remember what others have forgotten. And today I wanted to talk about that specifically because I think it's an important aspect of me as a person and a very important aspect of my life that I can easily talk about for a while. But basically, I'd say ever since I hit close to maybe 6th or 7th grade, especially 8th grade, was when I noticed a pattern. Well, I didn't notice a pattern until later, but I noticed that that's probably around the time that my memory started becoming stronger. And I think it correlates to the divorce as well as the move. So the divorce happened around the time of 7th grade for me. And it was a trying time for sure. And the whole kiddie romances as well was another emotional roller coaster. So there was a lot of things that activated my brain and made me feel a lot, basically. A lot of good things, a lot of bad things, but it was strong. The feelings were strong inside of me. And I think when you suffer from adversity, suffer from really emotional things in your life, you have a tendency to trigger strong memories, right? Like those emotions trigger your hippocampus and cause you to remember them very, very well. But I also think the stimulus sort of created a permanent change in me. I don't know if that's true or not, but this is my own observation of my own life, and I feel like it is true. I feel like ever since that time period, I started to perceive things differently. I started to remember more. I can remember moments very, very, very well. And then after I started journaling, especially when I would journal conversations, when I would journal what I did during the whole day, I would detail conversations. At a certain point, I would even journal, pretending I'm writing dialogue in a book and try to remember exactly what people said. That's when my memory definitely got even better. I don't really do that much these days, so I feel like my memory has stagnated. But for sure, the practice of my journal plus the whole emotional roller coaster I went through as a kid has made me more inclined to be able to remember things without trying, without intentionally remembering them. So I would find myself oftentimes recalling memories or events to my friends and family members and telling them what actually happened. And then they were like, no, it didn't happen that way. They would basically tell their version, or they just completely forgot that it existed, that it happened. I guess I was hanging out with people who didn't have great memory, I guess. But memory is a thing, based on what I just said, memory is a thing you can work on. It's a thing that for sure, can improve, because I definitely was not like this back then, before 7th and 8th grade. I forgot a lot of things. I don't remember much at all from 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade. I remember a lot more in 4th grade and a lot more in 5th grade for sure. And then 6th grade, I remember a good amount. 7th grade, I remember so much of it. 8th grade, I remember a lot of it as well. And so on, just memory, right? Just being able to remember things. And every time I could recall something that a friend could not, I felt very sad, because it's we shared those memories together, those times. And I know some of it isn't that important, but for me, it's it kind of sucks that people can't remember that it happened. People can't remember that we shared moments together. It sort of makes me think, in friendships, you sort of see everyone and feel closeness with everyone in different levels, right? So when you remember all the memories and events and things that you did together, conversations that you had together with a friend, and you really feel it because you can remember it in detail. And when you talk to that friend and you mention those memories and they're like, what are you talking about? And they act as if it never happened. It's of course, you're going to feel sad because it's almost as if for your friendship meter, for your friendship sort of level, it has decreased for them in their perspective. But for you, it's it's still high because you have all those attachments based on the memories. And I kept noticing this more and more and more over time with friends. And it's they act as if those things never happened, or like the conversations never happened. And like you mentioned like stuff that they talked about and you're like, oh, you remember that? Or if like they say the same stuff, which is totally fine, and you can repeat yourself, totally fine. But like forgetting that you had the conversation, forgetting that you had the memory, it's a very painful experience. And something that I experienced a lot of when I was, especially after college. Like I remember one of my close friends, like I was just like talking to her about certain things. It was like in a group as well, and I was like, oh yeah, like how we did this and that, and then like she just couldn't remember that we did, and it was only like a year ago. So after that happened, I was just like, I just walked away because I just felt so bad. I was like, dang, like did those memories really just mean nothing? Like when we were like studying and like and help when I was helping you out with all of these things, and a part of me just felt sad, like just sad, a lot of sadness. And I think when I restarted my creed, my list of values, I just thought of it while playing the piano for some reason. Like I was playing a song, improvising basically, and I felt sad, and I was thinking like, this is kind of my curse. I wrote a whole article about this called The Memory Curse, actually, how like, having this stronger than average memory is kind of a curse, because it's like you just sort of remember a lot of the bad things as well, and you can feel it strongly. For other people, it's like they remember less, and it's like maybe they remember some feelings from an argument or from certain memories, but it's like for them it's no longer really a thing that holds weight in their heart, in their minds. But for me, I feel a lot of things in the same way, the same strength, like now compared to back then, even if it was like 5 years ago. So when I was playing that piano and improvising, I just thought to myself, like, I don't know, it just sort of came. It's like memories, remembering things, and how like, I will remember what others have forgotten. Like that's just who I am. That's just like how I am. And I know it's a little sad, but I also viewed it in a different way. I viewed it as like, look, I'm the person who can remember these things. So I'll do my best to keep our attachments, to keep our memories, and just write them down, share them with the person again, jog their memory, try my best to, because I have been able to achieve that with some success, to help them remember certain things that we experienced together. And to be the one who carries those memories, it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to have. It's not a bad thing to be able to remember and find your friends precious, and find the memories you have with them precious as well, and to feel strongly. I think all of those things just allow me to be able to communicate better with people that I care about, because I remember the things they say. I remember we can like continue where we left off. I can show them basically that I care about them through that way. And I think throughout my life, there's one person who has a similar thing to me, and she's the friend that I really, really love talking to, like, because she's so good at remembering past conversations. It's like easy to catch up. And since I'm the same way, like, it's just a great conversation every time, because we remember, it's like we have like unlimited context from the past conversations to work with. So we got like jokes upon jokes, because it's like we just continuously make fun of previous things we've said like years ago, and things we've done together as well. That's what makes her like a very, very special friend for me, because of how good her memory is. And she's mentioned this too, like she's shared a lot of things with me involving memory, where like, for instance, like whenever she talks to people, like there are certain situations where she talked to people and she recalls things that they told her, and they're like, wow, you remember that, like you really care about me. Sometimes that can lead to like the person thinking that they like you, or the person thinking that you like them because you remember what they say. But it's kind of like, no, that's not true at all. Like, we just remember because that's just how we are. Like, we're not trying to. We don't like, we care. I care about people I meet and talk to, and like I think it's great to make new friends, and I have genuine curiosity and all that stuff, but I'm not making any extra effort to remember what people say. Like, it just happens. That's just like automatic. So I think it's funny that, we get into situations where like or not necessarily me. I feel like that doesn't happen to me very often, but people have mentioned like, yeah, you remember, I'm surprised, blah, 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 stuff like that to me. But I don't think I don't think that makes them think that I like them. But I guess maybe for my friend that's happened before. But it makes me happy that I have someone that I can relate to in that regard. But I know I have seen these days, I've noticed these days that some of my friends have increased memory as well. Like they over time have gotten better at remembering and recalling the things we've done and said and everything like that. Yeah, sometimes of course, like people's lives are really busy. So not everyone can like journal as much as me back then, especially like me journaling back then was like crazy. The amount of stuff that I journaled. I guess the best way to describe it is whenever I had conversations with people, I would write paragraphs upon paragraphs on what we talked about. And this wasn't like right after the conversation. This was like at the end of the day or even a day or two afterwards. But I would be recalling the entire conversation. And if I were to guess how many words, you know what? Let's just look it up right now. Okay, so anytime I would hang out with friends, like this is a hangout that I had with friends where we hung out the whole day. I wrote 1,900 words for that day. And to put that into context, I looked up like some writing stuff earlier today, actually. Brandon Sanderson says that he tries his best to write 2,500 words per day for his books. And I'm writing almost 2,000 words for my journal entry. Obviously, this is completely different. I'm just comparing the amount of words for the sake of giving context. Like writers, it's a different story. They have to actually craft the words and make it into like an art piece in a way. Me writing my journal entries, I'm just like spilling out all my thoughts. So it's like completely different. But I'm just saying for the word count, that's an insane amount of words just to talk about the entire day, But I think my 10 years worth of written journal entries could easily be like each year could easily be a book, probably every 2 years maybe could be a book. But yeah, it's just a lot of stuff that I wrote, and there's no way I could remember all of what I wrote, but for sure it helped me practice memory recall to like an ability that not an average person has, thanks to the fact that I would just continuously do that all the time. I have no idea. This is like one of the things that I feel like is kind of unique to me that I don't notice anyone else doing, is like just documenting my life like crazy, like writing the conversations down, writing what I did, during what time did I do it, like what happened in the events, how did I feel during the events, like how did the event go down, like what happened first, what happened next. Like I remember like doing paintball stuff, and for that paintball event, the journal entry was just talking about like the play-by-play, all of it, like just me recalling it. And yeah, it's such an interesting thing that I ended up doing that and spending so much time on that. I know to some people that might seem like a waste of time, and these days I don't really do it that often anymore. I'd say like these journal entries or these audio journals are basically my way of talking about the events now, although I've been on a life reflection sort of break in a way. I'm reflecting about my life instead of what's happening in my day. But again, that's abnormal in a way. Like I don't think I know a single other person that I've met like in person that has done this. Like I just don't know anyone who has done it to the level that I have. And for me, I am proud that I've been able to do this, because I do think it's good. It's good that it's a weird ass quirk for sure. And to a certain extent, I don't need to do it like that much, but like it's still good that I have done it, because I feel like it's made me the person I am today. And in a way, these days, just to talk about the creed again, I will remember what others have forgotten. These days, I kind of have let go of that phrasing. So I've come up with a new creed, a new one to replace it, which is I will remember everything that makes me who I am. And I feel like for that one, there's no negative connotation. There's no like sadness involved with it. Yes, there is indeed sad memories that I will remember, but everything is like both the bad and the good, both the sad and the happy. So I remember everything that makes me who I am. So I remember my friends, the time we spent together, our memories, the bad moments, the great moments, the moments I struggled on my own, the moments with my parents with my sister, with my family, everything that I've ever done in my life, like every feeling that I've had in my life. Like I will remember all of it because all of it makes me who I am. And this is more of a nature creed. I shouldn't even call it a nature creed. This is more of my nature. That makes more sense than it is a creed, than it is a value. It's not something I'm attempting to do, although I have definitely practiced and exercised my brain to do it. It's just something that I feel like is now my nature. Like I've done it so much to the point where I don't need to try to do it. I just will do it. And again, it's a huge, huge part of my life, having journaled so much, having done these audio journals as well. And I'm going to continue doing it for the rest of my life for sure. And I think a part of me is also loosening up a bit, like being okay with not being that detailed, because again, it takes time to be super detailed and write about everything and talk about everything. It's good to recall it and have the ability to recall it if need be. But I think I need to use my brain power and skills on other things that I really, really want to achieve right now. So I'm okay with just like audio journals that highlight the more important things in the day. And I feel like more and more, I'm probably going to be documenting what I do on video. It'll probably eventually become like a video journal type of thing in the future, likely. Seems to be the direction things are moving towards. I just don't want to spend time editing. So I will eventually need an editor. So that won't happen until I have an editor, because I just cannot put in that much work. Like already editing this audio, I actually don't edit it very much, but I do edit it a little bit. It takes at least, I'd say 15 minutes to do the whole process. Of course, recording this takes a long time. Like recording takes like maybe at least 30 minutes usually. That's probably the average time I record stuff. It shouldn't be that long. Honestly, I should cap record it at 20 minutes. But then most of my audio journals and podcast episodes would be like 15 minutes or so. But yeah, there's been some long ones and some short ones. But most of the life reflections, I'd say averaged 30 to 40 minutes. So when I edit it, it's such a hard phrase to say, edit it. It ends up being, I cut out a lot of silences. So it ends up being like probably like 80% of what I recorded it. So if you do the conversion back to 100%, like that's how much time I spent recording it, and then editing it takes an extra 15 minutes. So it ends up being around an average of perhaps an hour of work each day just to basically document my life. Not apparently, but evidently. But it's not a bad thing. Like I feel like, living that way is it's a great way to live, to know that you're spending your time in a way where it's at least worthy of some documentation. Like not everything I've ever done in my life is worthy of documentation. There's been plenty of days where I'm just like, yeah, today I didn't do too much. I kind of just watched or rewatched Young Justice or Teen Titans or something like that. Like back in my college summer days or something like that, just played Dark Souls for 3 days straight. There are definitely some entries that are like that. So it's not like every single day is a huge ass 2,000 word journal entry, but there are plenty of days which are 2,000 words, maybe even more, depending on the day. Like I remember spending a whole week after coming back from the travel trips to just document things with my free time. That's all I did, is just to journal about my time there, because while I was there, I couldn't journal. I basically just jotted down some bullet points, and then once I got back, I spilled it all out as if I was reliving it, and it was fun, but super time consuming. But yeah, that's basically my spiel about my nature. I'll just call it my nature. I will remember. I think for me that it makes life like more interesting that way, because it makes me think. It makes me ask myself like, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do to make it worth remembering? Because I don't want more days like the rewatching days or 3 straight days of just playing games. I want to make every day worth something valuable to me in the future. Like whether I'm building upon a skill that I'm going to have in the future that I'm going to be proud of, whether I'm like working on myself, working on my projects, things that I'm going to be proud of showing others. Like I really do want to spend my time in this world in the way that makes me proud and that makes it worth remembering. So even if it's in my nature to remember, I still want it to be something worth remembering. That's why I feel like both of those creeds work really, really well hand in hand, that I will strive to live a life worth remembering, a life I'm proud of. Plus, I will remember everything that makes me who I am. I think right now, those are the two strongest like values or natures in my creed. And it took my whole life to come up with them, I guess. Like, I know it's kind of generic, but the way that the words are stringed together in that order, and when I say it, I feel it, you know? I feel it, and it feels like it's me. It resonates with me perfectly. I did not come up with those words based on like someone else, based on like what someone else said or something I read in a book. These are words generated from me. Like, I had to look for them. I had to find them through my emotions, through my experiences, through my thoughts. And in a way, I feel like I'm, of course, you know, everyone's influenced by what's around them. And I'd say I'm influenced a good amount by one of my favorite series, fantasy series of all time, which is the Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. Funny how I mentioned him earlier in the episode, but in his book, not going to spoil it, but there are basically oaths that are spoken by characters, and for these oaths, it's basically like words that they have to find through experience and through just like events, like usually difficult and challenging events. And I was definitely inspired by that, thinking about like, oh, you know, what's a true value that you have, right? It's something that you gain through experience. It's something that resonates with your whole soul, that resonates with you entirely because it is your value. And no amount of reading self-improvement books led me to document and journal the way I did, because I didn't read any self-improvement books when I started journaling in college. I didn't read much at all. In fact, I just did it because I felt like doing it. It was part of me already, like part of my nature. I did not journal because of other people. I was not influenced to journal at all. I didn't journal in the way other people journaled. I just did it. I just wrote about the best moment of the day because I wanted to remember the good memories. And it became like writing about everything. And now it became this. This whole progression is completely natural. And I think it's fine if people do it because of a push from others. But for myself, I guess I want to note that because it seems so interesting to me that it is completely on my own, that I wasn't pushed towards this direction at all, that it is just completely my nature. And the way I did it back then as well with the Google Docs, everything was completely like, you know, I decided on it. I decided the structure of like, okay, 8 stars means the best day ever. And I title every day based on what happened in the day. And then we write the entry. And then eventually we had like time, like a table for times. And when we would write what we did during those times and like energy levels, and then like gratitude at the end. Gratitude, obviously, I got from someone else or like from media in general, right? So there's plenty of things that, yeah, I try to do because of external influences, but the way I structured it, the way I did it, like all of it was so interesting, so natural, so like thinking on my own of how I should do it, what fits me, what works. And I think it's like a good case study for myself to look at, because it's like oftentimes I struggle so much for trying to figure out like what to do for the things I want. But the whole like journaling and memory thing came so easy. And then I can look at it and just think like, what about that process made it so easy? And I feel like I can gain some insights from that. Like just allowing yourself to do the thing and not being so rigid with like the structures that people say, like do it because you feel like it's the right way for you. I think there's something in that, you know, like just doing it based on your own feelings and what's natural to you. Like trying to think about it in terms of piano, for instance, it's like, what do I like the most in piano? What works for me? Like I know there's certain skills I'm working on right now, like playing by ear, but like what do I love doing, right? And it's like improvising. I love improvising, but I don't do it very often because it's not like there's not a good structure for it or a practice structure that I know of. I sort of just have done it. But what if I just like let myself do that all the time? Like what can come out of that? That would be pretty cool, I think, instead of just always practicing in the structures that I was taught. And you think about that in terms of like what exercise or even YouTube or like so many things, like that's where I would say like originality can really shine, right? When you just keep doing what's right and natural to you, and eventually you come across like something you created that is just like not based on anything else you've seen because you didn't get influenced by that. It's like the counter to like optimization. It's the counter of like figuring out what works best. What's the best method? Because like so many people have done it, right? So you can do it their way. But when I stop and think about it, like this is such a unique thing for me, that where I just did not look at how other people did it, didn't care at all, and just naturally did it on my own. And now I've come across this, which I find very enjoyable. I love this. I love talking to myself, and I don't know, whoever might listen to this, I guess, but mostly myself, and just like thinking, processing things, giving myself that space, feeling things out, recalling memories. Yeah, I actually think this is like something I'm really discovering right now that I haven't really thought about much. And it's so interesting to go through this process. This is one of the things I was hoping for this life reflection, right? We had early on like talked about my childhood and how there are certain conversations I need to have with family members that I still need to really, really do, that I've put a reminder for closer to Thanksgiving. And that's good. It's something actionable came out of it. And then this as well, like just talking about a thing that I've noticed in myself, a pattern that has continuously existed in my life, and sort of trying to see if there's more to it, trying to see if there's something I can glean from it, like an insight about myself that can help me with the future, help me with doing things. And again, it's so opposite to the way I've been approaching a lot of the things I've been doing, of trying my best to optimize and everything, instead of letting myself just like do the thing I really want to do, and letting myself just go crazy with it, not worry about what other people say I should be doing and what the structures are already. It's a process that only works if you have like a good amount of awareness of yourself, right? Because I feel like unless you've done it in a circumstance, a situation where there's like zero external influences, you're most likely going to try to copy like what other people do, like their practice methods, their structure for how to learn something, and so on. Not that that's bad. Obviously, like it's good to learn the foundation and basics of like how to do something. And until you really know those foundational things, I feel like it's like it's harder to do the thing like your way. Not that it isn't impossible. Anyways, there's definitely something there that I will try to like brainstorm a bit further in like a future video probably, or yeah, we'll see. But it's good to have gotten that. All right, we gotta go.